Welcome to episode 6 of How to Reinvent. I'm Jill Fagan, the content strategist and manager for reInvent.
And I'm Annie Hancock. I'm head of creative and customer experiences for our global events team.
Yay.
So Jill, welcome to episode 6.
Episode 6.
Super exciting.
Very.
So up until now, we've been very focused on getting people excited about reInvent, doing some general overviews, especially for those who are new to reInvent.
Yep.
But we're going to switch gears for the next few episodes, and we're going to get very strategic about talking about all of the things that our customers who are attending this year need to do to get ready. So we're going to talk about reserved seating and the mobile app this week. Next time, we're going to talk about getting around the reInvent campus and the transportation and how to master that. So it's going to feel a little different, but it's very important for folks who are registered to start like turning their focus to getting prepared to be on site.
Yep, exactly.
And so that's going to be our approach for the next few episodes.
It'll be good. I'm excited to kind of dive into those details with everyone. But before we do that, I think we both have a few updates. So why don't you give us an update on quirky activities?
So one of the new episodes that we've added this year that we are now ready to talk about is a new trivia competition that we're doing. It's going to be Wednesday night with Jeff Barr, and it's really going to be this sort of camp themed. So kind of hearkening back to summer camp trivia challenges. And the idea is beat Jeff Barr. So at the end of it, we'll have determined if the audience is smarter or if Jeff Barr is smarter.
My money's on Jeff Barr.
We have some smart attendees, though.
I mean, true, but Jeff Barr.
Yeah, so that's going to be super fun. It's going to be at the Venetian Theater on Wednesday night. We will do a big reveal on Jeff's blog in terms of when people can sign up for that and how they do that. But super excited. That's going to be really fun. The other thing I wanted to mention, we are doing a table tennis tournament, not a ping pong tournament.
What's the difference between table tennis and ping pong?
Ping pong, you just sort of play casually. Table tennis has rules and an international league.
Oh, so that's like what's in the Olympics is table tennis. Okay.
Right. So we are having a table tennis tournament. That's a tongue twister. So that will be something that folks can do on Tuesday.
Fun.
Yeah, and then there's going to be some ping pong tables and some video games and other things sprinkled around the reInvent campus. We've got the mechanical bull cat coming back again this year. Unfortunately, it's in a sort of very public place, so if I do want to ride again,
I don't know. I'm not sure if I recommend that.
It won't last very long, so it's fine. I can get up there, have someone film me, and I'll fall off immediately.
Perfect.
And I'll be good. So a bunch of fun things spread around the campus this year. In the years past, we had the park, and this year we've kind of decided to sprinkle some of those activities within the venues themselves.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Jill, why don't you give us a content update for us around hackathons?
Yes, just wanted to get everyone updated on our hackathons. So our hackathon program is taking place all at the MGM this year, and every hackathon will be in the MGM Studio Ballroom.
Great.
And we have hackathons Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So our Monday hackathon will be our Alexa one. Come build and learn and really get hands-on with Alexa. And then our Tuesday one is our traditional hackathon we've had every year, our NGO hackathon for nonprofits. And that's really cool. Attendees get together and hack together a really cool solution for a nonprofit. And then Wednesday, we're bringing back game day. There will be 2. There'll be like a morning one and an afternoon one. So 2 chances to attend the game day one.
Super
fun. And then Thursday will be Security Jam, which is always super popular. So 4 days of hackathons and lots of opportunities to get super hands-on.
Great.
So very excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So Jill, thanks for that hackathon update.
Of course.
Now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to bring out Cole Platt, who manages our mobile app platform. He's going to talk about the mobile app, and we're going to talk about reserved seating.
Yep, can't wait.
Great.
So Cole, welcome to How to Reinvent.
Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Cole Platt. I'm a senior product manager with AWS, and I work on the global event technology team. So I work with you wonderful people and all of the summit leaders to launch cool features at the events.
Yep, it's been really cool the last few years. Today, right now, we're going to talk about reserved seating kind of in general. And then a little later, you and I will kind of dive into what the mobile app experience will be for reserved seating.
Okay.
But before we do that, we wanted to just kind of walk through some of the logic and thinking behind some of the choices that we make when we're deciding how to manage reserved seating, when we decide how to manage our technology. diving right in, one of the things that we do on site is we have 2 tracks of time. So we have a track 1 and a track 2.
Yep.
Yes.
And there's a lot of reasons we do that. I thought it would be helpful for people to sort of understand the philosophy behind it so that when they go to schedule their sessions, they understand like, oh, this is a different track. I understand why why I'm seeing these times.
Yeah.
Makes
So Jill,
sense.
do you want to walk us through that a little bit?
Definitely. It can be kind of hard to conceptualize, but it's something that Cole and I, when we first started working on reserve seating together a couple years ago, really talked about and dove deep into. But basically, there's 2 time tracks happening. So we have like on Monday, time track 1. The first time track sessions start at 10 a.m. and then the session is an hour, done at 11. Then there's a half-hour break, then 11:30 to 12:30, so on. Then the second time track is staggered 45 minutes later. So that starts 10:45 to 11:45, 30-minute break, 12:15 to 1:15, 30-minute break, etc. And the reason we do that is so that only like half the people are in the hallway at one time.
Yeah.
So if you've been to reInvent before, it's super busy. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of movement, a lot of happening. And so to alleviate that, and we actually are able to add more sessions into the day when we do that staggered time track. It gets confusing for people though, because they'll be in the session catalog, they're trying to reserve a seat. There's a session that goes from 10 to 11 that they want to go to, and then another session that goes from 10:45 to 11:45 that they want to go to, and how do they go to both? The answer is you can't go to both. But this year, because we're implementing so many more repeat sessions, that that session that's happening when you can't go will be happening later in the week at a time where you can go.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of the theory behind it. We want to make sure we make a lot of decisions around traffic flow and making sure people can get around reInvent easily.
Yeah, and that impacts like how many people are getting on buses at the same
Yes.
time, how many people are going to the meal halls. So it helps us to load balance across the venues, and it helps to just make attendees have a better experience.
Yeah.
But again, just looking at it, sometimes people would say, oh, in order to get onto the other track, I have to skip a session. And we understand that does mean that like sometimes you have to sit out a session in order to switch tracks. But there's a ton of stuff to do.
Yes.
You can go to Spotlight Labs, or Hands-On Labs, you can go into the expo.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ad hoc things that you can do to add
Always
to your
going on.
schedule.
A lot of things.
And I know you guys you talked a lot about that, and I feel like that's something that I've heard a lot from customers of like, tell me why you do that.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time looking at the technology and how it's presenting the information that Jill has in the session catalog. And it's been an important couple of years for us.
Yes.
We spent a lot of
learning.
time, a lot of time doing retrospectives and trying to figure out what has happened in the past and how the technology can better the customer experience. And so we have these rules set in place, but the technology hasn't always done a great job of portraying how those rules should be used.
Yeah.
And so this year we feel very strongly that the mobile app will help guide your experience on site.
Yeah.
And while you can jump tracks and you can do certain things, we will present you with the right customer, messaging that will make sure that you're, aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so there should not be a lot of confusion this year around skipping tracks and scheduling sessions and double booking and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple of other things that we have. We have what we call the 10-minute rule. So the 10-minute rule is if you have a reserved seat, you have to be there before 10 minutes.
Yes.
At the 10-minute mark, your reserved seat goes away.
Yes.
And there's a few really important reasons why we do that one as well. It's not to be punitive. It's really about being less disruptive for the sessions and starting to move people in who have walked up. So the first year that we did reserved seating, we didn't have this. And what happened was the session would start, the speaker would start, and then we would let the walk-ups in. It was disruptive to the speakers.
Yes.
It was disruptive to the people who were in there.
Yeah.
And also, it meant that the people could see that there were empty seats in the room and we weren't letting them in.
Yeah.
So again, we do that so that we can move people efficiently and run the sessions as efficiently as possible.
And I think leading into this, it may make sense to talk through the 25%.
So 75% of every room is available for reserve seating, right? So if you have a 1,000-person room, we allow 750 people to reserve a seat, and then we hold back 250 seats for people to walk up on site. We want and we encourage people to prepare, get into the session catalog, reserve your seat, but of course, not everybody's going to do that. So we do like to have a contingency for those people who just show up on site. But again, everyone should prepare, and reserving a seat is the best way to get into the session you want.
Right.
But of course, we also, and that 10-minute rule is important to those walk-ups, right?
Exactly.
So in addition, we have those 250 seats, and we actually, our scanning system is set up so that even before the 10 minutes, we can start letting in those 250 people in the walk-up line.
Yes, we do
and
that
then,
now.
And it tells us when that's full. So it'll be like, oh, hey, this, the walk-up section is full. You have to stop letting in people from the walk-up line. And then at that 10-minute time mark, the reserved seats go away and we can fill the room with the other empty seats.
Yeah.
And so again, we understand on site, you're trying to hustle, you're trying to get to your sessions, and it might be frustrating to get there, 5 minutes before and realize your reserved seat is gone. But we have to think about the program holistically and the event that's happening across 5 venues. So, and really the cool thing about the mobile app, and we'll talk about this more in our next episode with transportation, but the mobile app is really going to be designed to remind people and help people like, hey, you only have 30 minutes to get from this venue to this venue. You may want to rethink going to that venue and getting your seat. You have better luck staying here, finding a seat in another session.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And then the other thing that we're going to do this year is we are going to limit the amount of time that folks can see in line.
Yeah.
By saying that you can't line up for a session more than 60 minutes in advance. And that's
Right.
going to be true across the board, whether you're going to Midnight Madness or replay
Yep.
or a breakout session.
Yeah.
And a couple reasons for that. Last year, we have really enthusiastic attendees. I mean,
Yes.
you've sat at the help desk
Yes.
and helped thousands of
desk every year.
customers
Yes.
every year who are they're very excited and passionate about things. And so last year, what we were seeing is people like camping out like it was a rock concert to get into sessions. And what happened was then people walking by like, oh, they're standing in line for the session that starts at 11. I have a reserved seat, but I see all
better
these
get in
people in
line.
line. I better get in line. And we really don't want people spending their time in line.
There's so much to do at reInvent.
Yes.
And again, I think that we need, the technology needs to help guide people to
Yep.
understand what else is available.
Yes.
This year in the mobile app, and we'll see this in a little bit, we are doing a really good job of portraying or showing users in the mobile app when there are repeat sessions. And so if, instead of waiting in that line for 60 minutes, there's so much other stuff you should be doing during that time that you're just waiting in line talking to people. We will show you in the mobile app when all of those sessions have repeats
Yeah.
or overflows or whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
And so, and then we can also recommend other content, right? There's so much content in the session catalog.
There is.
Dive in, and there are other things to do than wait in line for 60 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And the technology is, this year been tailored to meet those needs.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and then we will jump into reserve seating, I promise, is this year, one of the things that we've done is we've developed a worksheet. And this is really, it's not a step-by-step how to reserve a seat. It's
Right.
really about formulating your plan for how to prepare for reInvent and how to get the most out of reInvent. And I talked a little bit about this last time. It includes everything from making sure that you get your reserved seating done, making sure you've downloaded the mobile app, making sure that if you have meetings you want to schedule at reInvent, that you work on scheduling those. So really just putting together that overall plan for the week, what you should do ahead of time, and then determining what are your priorities for the day. One of the benefits and challenges or good and the bad of reInvent is there's so much to do that it's very easy to lose track of what your priorities are. And so at the end of the week, you're like, did I accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? Well, I did a bunch of stuff. But
Yeah.
if you have daily priorities, so Tuesday, you want to see that really important session. Wednesday, you want to go to the keynote. Mix in some, meetings with maybe it's your account team or a key partner that you want to meet with. Whether you have professional network people that you want to make sure you schedule your breakfast networking or whatever it is. We've developed this worksheet to help you sort of think about it.
Yep.
Because again, it's not just the act of reserving your seat and downloading your mobile app, but it's how to formulate a plan.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that the combined knowledge of the three of us, but also the army of people behind us who
Right.
aren't here on camera, who plan reInvent and think about all of the details of reInvent. What we're trying to do this year, you through technology, you through reserve seating with the worksheet, we're trying to help take all of that information in our brains and get it into to our attendees' heads so that they can also have a great plan and have a great
Yep.
reInvent.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about exactly the details on reserve seating, when and how people can do
Yes,
this.
we're going to do that both in the mobile app and going through the web app too, kind of side by side. I think first we'll have Cole kind of talk about the mobile app, what that experience is going to be, and then we'll dive into the mechanics of reserve seating.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep, that works.
Cool.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the actual session catalog.
Yes.
Jill is my hero because she owns this massive amount of content that all has to be funneled in a way that becomes clear and easy and simple to understand for users. And so it's this massive responsibility, and I think we've done a really good job this year of finding ways to filter on this content and make sure that it's all easily available and readily, at your fingertips, and you can, dive in and understand exactly what you're trying to reserve seats in. So the first thing that we want to look at is the actual catalog. So on the mobile app, we have all content will be loaded into the mobile app. The slide that I believe we're looking at is there's something like 414 sessions that are loaded in there right now. This is not the entire content.
Nope.
That we
Not close
have.
to it.
Not even close. But there are a couple things that you'll see here. The first is the venue that session will be located in. That's an important thing to consider when you're traveling around this campus, correct? Additionally, we have the title. From this session catalog, we have the title that's listed for that session. So that's just kind of the teaser, I guess, right? There's just the basic information. And we also have the date and time. And then also, we'll have some information on here as you start to reserve seats on whether or not that seat's already been reserved. So this is kind of your first glance at what the session catalog will look like in the mobile app. The next slide, we'll actually take a look at some of the filters. And so these are the filters you've been working very, very long and hard on.
Yes.
And so I have this immense responsibility of making sure that we don't mess these filters up.
Yes,
in the
you do.
technology.
They need
pressure.
to
They
be
need to
in
be
the mobile app.
perfect. Yes. And so the screenshot that everyone is looking at, we just have the session types, the day of week, topic, level, industry, venue, the available seats only. So this is a cool new filter, which would show you the sessions that have available seats left.
And if I could hop in for a minute to kind of talk about each filter. So obviously, like session type. So we have 60-minute breakout sessions, we have hackathons, we have our workshops, chalk talks, builder sessions. So that really helps if you are really interested in doing something like a small group. A builder session is what you want to filter for. If you want to see all types of content under a specific topic, so you would just go to topic and click databases or machine learning. And we actually have sessions are listed across topics this year. So if you're interested in databases and machine learning, you can see the sessions that are tagged to both of those. Of course, day of the week, I think it's really important to, as we've talked about, planning, thinking long term, what you want your week to look like, really planning your sessions by day of the week is good. And then session level. So we have 3 levels at reInvent. We have 200, which is introductory, 300, which is advanced, and then 400, which is expert. And then venue, obviously important. And then if you're interested in a particular industry, whether it's healthcare or life sciences or advertising, anything like that, you can break out things by industry. And then we have like new sessions. So if you're interested in things that we've just added, you can click that. And then also my favorite new, other than the sessions with open seats, which is a really cool new filter, my other favorite new filter this year is the job role filter, which we've never had before. So if you are an IT pro and you want to see what sessions apply to you, you go into that filter and you click IT pro and it'll filter sessions by that job role. And so we have 5 different job roles. All of that is in the session catalog. You can go look at it in the session catalog right now. So I'm excited about how the session catalog is organized. And it's really going to make that mobile app experience on site so much better.
Totally agree. And so these filters they're pretty robust this year. So we've done a lot to clean this up and add some new cool filters. But the other thing about just the actual functionality in the mobile app is that these filters can be set multiple different ways, or you can set multiple filters all at once. And so you can really take the entire session catalog of whatever 2,000 sessions and set 15 filters if you want to dive into something that is very specific to what you're looking for. And so we think that if you spend time searching through the session catalog in the mobile app and using the filters the right way and using the keyword search, which we're going to show next, you're going to be able to find some content in there that may be pretty unique and something that's not just at the surface.
Exactly.
So we're really excited about the filters and the way the session catalog set up this year.
Definitely.
So the next one is the keyword search. And so this is an important filter. We use it every day during our visit to reInvent and while we're looking through the catalog. So there may be topics or things that you may be interested in. And the way the keyword search works this year is that it just when you start typing, we'll start to auto-populate the catalog. So there's no need to search an entire phrase or type in an entire phrase before you click the search button. We have this auto searching feature that's built in, which is pretty cool UX.
Awesome.
And this will search all abstracts and titles and speakers. And so if there is specific information that you're looking at in the catalog, the keyword search is a really good option.
Cool. That's awesome.
Excited about that one as well. So anything else to say about filters?
No, other than I love them.
Yes. Yeah. Another important, it's kind of, we can laugh about this now, but we had the filter on there for the show pass sessions. So
Yeah.
this was a UX problem last year where
Yep.
we were displaying sessions that had happened in the past. And so people were trying to reserve seats.
Yep.
And so that has been taken care of.
Yeah.
Again, we take customer feedback very, very seriously
Yes.
on this team. So, we're learning as we go through this. And this was an important filter that's been added. So while we are removing sessions from the session catalog that have already happened, when you're just in the actual keyword search, you can go back and look for them by clicking the show past sessions
Oh,
feature.
cool. So if you want to see, if you're just interested in what was the session that I attended,
Correct.
or
You can always go
were
back.
there other sessions on this topic earlier? Maybe there's a recording I can go look up.
Exactly.
You can filter by. That's awesome.
That's exactly right,
Cool.
yes.
I like that. Very cool.
So next, we want to talk about the session detail page, which we've
Yes.
put so many blood, sweat, and tears
Yes,
into.
a lot of thought.
So the session detail page is anything and everything about the actual session that you're trying to attend. So this is all the content that Jill's team owns.
Yep.
It's super important, it's super critical, and we spent a lot of time thinking about the layout and the design of this page because reserve seating is complicated. It's not the most easy thing to do in the world.
Yep.
And this page will hopefully provide enough detail for you to make the right decision. And so the first thing you'll see again is the title on the actual session detail page of that session. Next thing you'll see is the date and time and the session type, the event type that it is. And then there are two important concepts that we need to discuss here. So the first is added to my interests.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So the added to my interest is a really valuable tool that we use before reserve seating launches.
Yep.
But I'm also very passionate that the added to my interest is a valuable tool while you're on site.
Yes.
Because
I agree.
on site, we all have to be very flexible, right? Like you may be in the MGM and it's going to take you too long to get to the Venetian and that's where your next session is. But you have interested items on your calendar that you could, potentially start to look at. And it basically gives you an inventory of sessions that you should keep in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Because again, crazy things happen on site, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you've spent the time diving into the catalog and interesting items, they're not blocking your calendar. You can have as many interested items at one point in time as you want. But those interested items can be there as a backup for you if, for whatever reason, the seat you have a reserved seat in doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
so this button on this page around add to my interest, I think is very valuable. So
Yep.
feel free to add
And people
interests.
can go in and add things as interests right now.
We hope everybody's in there right now adding the interest, but yeah, well ahead of before reserve seating launches, even if you're adding it to your interest, it's a good tool to use when you start actually reserving those seats because
Yep.
you'll be able to see that inventory in your calendar.
Yeah.
And we'll show a screenshot of that later and how cool this is going to look in the mobile app.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about this one. So
We've talked a lot about how it's going to look and
know.
what the experience will be.
Exactly.
So super excited.
So next, we have the reserve seat button. So
Yeah.
once you've made the decision that this is the session that you want to attend, and this idea of planning your week and this worksheet, and this is what you really want to do, the act of reserving the seat will hold that time on your calendar. So you cannot double book. You can, again, continue to add things to your interest list all you want. But reserving that seat will take your seat and hold it for you until the 10-minute mark before the session starts.
Yep.
You're basically taking one of the seats out of the 75% of the total seats that are available.
Yep.
And that's yours.
Yeah.
So the other stuff that's on this page that we want to call out is this really cool seats available indicator, right?
Yeah.
So we have this reserved seats status message. And so on the screen here, we can see that this one is an open pie chart, right?
Yep.
So this is showing users that there are seats available.
So once the room starts to fill up, it'll say, room filling quickly, make sure you reserve your seat.
Right.
And then it'll be full. And so then it will say, you can't reserve your seat, but you can add yourself to the wait list. And so this is something we're doing a little bit differently this year than we did last year. Last year, we allowed people to add themselves to the wait list. And when you add yourself to the wait list, it also blocks that time on your calendar.
Right.
So it's not like an interest where your time is open. When you add yourself to the wait list, your time is blocked. You can't schedule another session over it or anything, even though you don't have a reserved seat.
Right.
And we do that for a very specific purpose, because it really helps us gauge people's actual interest and what they really want to do.
Yeah.
So if you add yourself to the wait list before going on site, you also have an opportunity to still get into the session. So what we've seen, customer behavior. People will reserve seats and then they'll go back in, they'll change their mind, they'll drop out of a session, which will then free up a seat in that session. So if you're at the top of that wait list in our system, the system will automatically move you into the session and you now have a reserved seat.
Right.
So that's why we block that time
Yes.
on your calendar.
Yeah.
What we're doing this year differently than last year, about 10 days before people go on site to reInvent, we're gonna clear everyone's physical wait lists so that time is no longer blocked on your calendar. What we are doing is moving that into your interests so you still have a record of everything that you waitlisted yourself for and you know that it was important to you, but it's no longer blocking time on your calendar. So you can go in and make some strategic decisions about whether you want to reserve a seat in a session or whether you just want to try and wing it and still go. But wait lists will no longer exist once you get on site.
Yep.
You can either grab a reserved seat or you can have an interest, but you'll no longer be able to wait list.
So Jill, that brings up a good point. So there's a couple of windows of time that we're talking about. And we're this webinar will air in October, and people will do this initial pass of reserving their seats. And you may or may not get bumped from a wait list up into the reserved seat slot. That might happen. Like you said, people definitely do that,
Yep.
and that does happen. But the other thing to sort of note is you should go back in
Yes.
before reInvent.
Yes.
So you've taken this action in October and you've come up with your plan and you got a general plan for your week. You should also then go back in probably about a week before reInvent. Some things may have changed. You know, you'll see that you have the free time where you were on a wait list.
Yep.
Maybe your account manager scheduled an EBC. Maybe something else came up that you have to work around, right?
Right.
Or there are new sessions.
Yeah, there's new sessions.
We really try to schedule and have everything set, but there are times when we're able to add new sessions
Yeah.
and the session catalog gets
Right.
updated. And also, this is really the first year where their mobile app will be available
what I
for
was just
like a
gonna say.
significant amount of time before reInvent.
Right.
So take advantage of the
Yeah.
fact that you have the session schedule and the ability to reserve seats at your fingertips.
in your pocket.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. This is a huge deal for me because for the first time ever, I think my first year on the team, we launched the mobile app on Thanksgiving. Right?
Yes.
So not enough time
No.
to get in and start using it before you get on site.
Yeah.
The next year we were a little faster, but it was still a month or so before the event, and so we really want people to start diving into the catalog because that catalog is in your pocket now.
Yeah.
And we've built a lot of features in here to help you understand and plan your week. So.
Yeah. Cool.
So I think this concept of waitlisting is super important, and one thing that's really important with reserve seating specifically is that reserve seating is it's a demand gen tool, right? And,
Yep.
it ensures that your experience on site is very good.
Yes.
And so it's important for everybody to understand that sessions will fill up, but there are filters in the app that will show you this. There are sessions that have available seats. And even though the seats are filling up, the waitlist tool allows us to expand capacity.
Yeah.
Right? And so add yourself to waitlists. It
Yep.
helps us, increase the room size, increase the number of repeats that we put in place. It allows us to help to, we can do our best to try to guess what demand will be.
Yeah.
But the waitlisting functionality is super important.
The other thing to bear in mind, especially this year, is we're so much heavier on repeats. And those repeats are in the session catalog early.
Right.
And they've been there since the session catalog has been open. And the idea is that if you go to waitlist yourself in a session and it's full, there'll be a pop-up that tells you, here are the repeats of this session, and you can go explore those options and maybe add yourself to a repeat.
Right.
So the idea is that we're really supplying the demand that there is for these sessions
Right.
with all the repeats.
Yeah, and then I always like to do my little plug here, but the other thing that I would say is sort of like once you get your session schedule built, then go back and make sure it actually makes logical
Yep.
sense,
Yes.
right? So one of the things that I saw last year that customers told me that they did was they went from the Venetian to the Aria and then over to the MGM and back to the Venetian and then back to the Aria all in one day. And that you can totally do that, and
If you want.
it will work out as long as you've built your schedule correctly. But maybe take a look at that and say, okay, I know I really want to go to that database session. Everything else that I'm doing that day is at the Venetian. Maybe I should see if there's a repeat
Right.
on another day where I'm going to actually be at the Aria. So again, sort of like there's the functional usage of the tool that you guys spend a ton of time
Right.
looking at. And then I like to remind people, okay, build your schedule, do all that, and then like sort of take a step back and say, now,
can I actually do this?
Did what I just planned make sense, and how do I adjust? And just putting some of those logic filters on, I think is really helpful in making sure that your experience overall is great, because
Totally agree.
I mean, our team rides those shuttles every time we go. We've tested them, we've done all of those things, but a shuttle is still a shuttle, and you want to maximize your time at reInvent, right? And so just taking that step back, I think, is really important as well. So,
agree.
Okay, that's my soapbox.
The next slide I'm really excited about is to talk about the planner.
Yeah, so am I.
So I want to show everybody the planner view, because this introduces this concept of your day, or the seats that you have, the sessions you have reserved seats in, and then also interested items. And so we talked about the ability right now, before reserved seating launches, to add as many items to your interest list as possible. So in the mobile app, before we launch reserved seating, you'll have the ability to add, in the gray section here, to your interested items, right? So you can add as many as you want there. When we launch reserved seating, you have the ability to go through and pick which ones you actually want to reserve a seat in. So that's where you have to make the hard decisions about what you want your day to look like and what you want your week to look like, right? The other important thing is that you need to consider as you're looking through this, the very first thing on this planner that we show you is the name of the venue in which it's in. Right, so there's Aria, you can see MGM, the Venetian, whatever the name of the venue is there. So that's an important thing to consider as you're building out this calendar and planning your day, right? So the planner is set up to really help plan your day. And if you are constantly bouncing between venues, that's kind of a problem. We don't even do that on our site visits, right? Like we go and try to stay in a spot for several hours before we leave, so because it's Vegas and it's hot and it's hard to get around. So
and again, why we've kind of designed the content the way we have this year with this everything is everywhere approach. You no longer have to go from the Aria to the Venetian to see a databases session. You can stay at the Aria and you can see databases and machine learning and analytics and storage, and everything is everywhere, and repeats are everywhere. So just as you're sorting through that content, like really keep that in mind. And if there's this one session that you really want and it's not working out with your day, go search the session catalog. There will likely be repeats. And also, again, a plug for our overflow strategy this year as well. Every single venue will have an overflow room that's kind of this silent disco concept, and we'll be overflowing sessions across venues. So, if that one database session that you really want to see that's at the Venetian, but you're at the Aria all day, look in the session catalog, and chances are that overflow session will be there. So we've got lots of options for people to get to the content they want.
So this planner should really help dive into that content. And so from within these detail pages too, so when you click on this, this interested item that's on this calendar as an example, the Aria, if you were happen to click on that, you would go to the detail page. We would show repeats. We would show overflows if they existed. And so you could make a decision about, well, I can't really make that one a reserved seat right now because I'm in this session in the MGM. However, I'm still really interested in that one, so show me in the session detail page when there are repeats of that exact same session.
And I just want to call something out because it came up when I was talking to a customer recently, what we mean by repeats. Because we don't mean that we recorded that session and are replaying that session. That is not what we mean by repeats. What we mean is it's the session.
Another live version of the session with the speaker happening at that moment. So, and we record all of our 60-minute sessions, and they are typically up on YouTube in 24 to 48 hours after they're presented. So all that content is there on YouTube, but we do live repeats of our sessions.
I just wanted to call that out.
No, that's a very good call out. So, the planner will be used to add favorited items leading up to the reserve seating launch. Once reserve seating launches, you have the split view that will show the planner in two ways, right? The seats that you can reserve your seats in, and then also the items you have reserved or interested. I'm sorry. So that view will be super important as you're planning your week for all of the reasons we've talked about. So super excited about the improvements we made to the planner. I think there's a lot of value here.
Cool. I'm excited. I feel like we should do a quick run through of what it will look like in the web app as well.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into as much detail as Cole did because It's pretty self-explanatory when you log into the session catalog. But the most important thing to remember when you go to reserve a seat is you have to be logged into your reInvent account.
Right.
You cannot see any of those session catalog details of like location, time, date, anything, unless you're logged into your reInvent account. So first you wanna go and you wanna log into your reInvent account, and also make sure you do that. Make sure you've logged into your reInvent account a few days before reserve seating launches. So reserve seating launches tomorrow, October 11th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Be ready for it. But if you haven't logged into your reInvent account,
go do that.
go do it now.
Please.
Or in a few minutes, or when the webinar is over, but go do it. Because you wanna just make sure you can get into your account. You don't need a password reset. You wanna be ready.
Yeah.
Because when reserve seating launches, lots of people log in and reserve seats right away.
Yes, they do
So
indeed.
if you haven't yet looked at the session catalog, you haven't done any groundwork, go log in, go do it now. You won't regret it. So once you're logged into your account, that will take you into the session catalog. Session catalog is pretty self-explanatory. When you look at it, you'll want to immediately filter either the keyword search, which is there across the top, and then on the left-hand side of the page is all the various filters. So whether it's topic, day, all the filters that are also in the mobile
I was gonna
app.
say the same filters, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
same
we've done a good
filters.
job of making sure this experience is consistent.
Yes, and Cole and I work really hard. We try to make sure all the messages between the mobile app and the session catalog on the web app are all the same. So it'll look different, but really the same experience. So you choose your filters. And then what you'll see is the session title and abstract. And if you want to see more detail on the abstract, you click see more. But then right there to the left of the session title, if there's open seat in that session, there'll be a little plus mark, and you hover over it and it'll say reserve seat. And you click it and it'll reserve your seat. And you'll get a little message and it'll be green. So it's very obvious. Green means go, green means you've got a seat, you're good to go. If you decide you reserved a seat in error, then you just quickly click the little minus sign where the plus sign was, and it'll remove you from the session, and it'll tell you you've been removed from the session. If you hover over the little plus sign and it says add to waitlist, you click on that and that will add you to the waitlist. Again, it will block the time on your calendar just like if you had a reserved seat. And again, we'll clear that from your calendar before you go on site. And it'll tell you that you've been added to the waitlist. And it'll be like a yellowish, like, hey, you've been added to the wait list. And that's really kind of like the functionality of going in and reserving a seat in the session catalog.
Yep.
It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. I think the big takeaway here is if you're not using the mobile app, you definitely need to log into your reInvent account and you need to go into that session catalog, make sure everything's good to go.
Yeah. The other thing that I want to call out, and it did this last year, but we all are very attuned to clicking away little pop-up windows that come up.
Yes.
One of the really important things that I want to call out to everyone is a concept of we try to help you if you're going to make a bad decision.
Right.
Yes.
So if you're trying to book yourself at the Venetian for a session that runs from 10 to 11, and then you want to book yourself in a session at the Aria, and we don't think you've left yourself enough time to get over to the Aria, we will give you that warning.
Yep.
Correct.
So read the warning because we're doing it for a reason.
Yes.
And we're trying to help you just sort of, again, planning your day, not only in the sessions that you are going to get into, where they're located, but the timing, right?
Yep.
So that you don't get yourself in this situation where you're like, oh, I had a reserved seat, but I didn't get over there in time.
Yep.
And the 10-minute rule happened and I lost my seat.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say is like our job on this team and mainly on the technology side is to put the right like barriers and like the guardrails in place, right?
Yep.
So we don't put roadblocks.
Yeah.
Because you can still make your own decisions.
Right.
So you can jump tracks and you can go between venues with sessions that are back to back.
Yeah.
That would mean if you were going to reserve a seat in a session that was back to back, you would probably have to leave the session that you were already in early.
Yeah.
And so while that is totally within the realm of possibility,
Unnecessary.
fair enough. There are guardrails in place to make sure that you understand what you're about to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've built a lot of these different use cases into the mobile app this year.
Yeah.
You'll see the same functionality. The UX is slightly different on the web side, but all of the same functionality and the same guardrails are in place, and they're important. So.
Yes, but we do let you make your own decisions.
We do.
You can do it.
But I just like to call that out because we try to, again, we know how long it takes to get between venues. We know why we have track 1 and track 2. We know about the 10-minute rule.
Yep.
And we would recommend that you follow our advice. We just work on the project all the time,
Yes.
so we really do feel like we have good advice here.
Yeah.
But we really we don't stop you from doing certain things.
Correct.
The
Very few
only thing
times
we
where we
stop
ever
you,
stop you.
Yeah.
The
Double
only thing
booking.
we-
You're
Yeah.
double booked, yeah.
Double booking.
We don't allow you to, you get a pop-up that'll say,
Yeah.
hey, you have, you're scheduled in another session at this time. Do you want to remove yourself from that old session and add yourself to this new one? And there's a functionality now that's one click. So last year you had to like back out and go back to your calendar and look at it and decide. And this year we just allow you with one click to add the new session, or you can decide not to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's about the only real restriction we put on people, for sure.
But there's still an out, so.
Yeah, still an out.
Well, this was super informative.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Cole. I think you're going to come back on our transportation
Yes.
episode and
we have
talk
exciting
about.
things to announce
We
on
have a lot
transportation.
of fun stuff there
Yeah.
to really help people get around in a more informed manner.
Yes.
So we will see you again. But I think this was super informative.
Definitely.
And we are looking forward to episode 7.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So we always ask our guests a couple questions.
okay.
First one is less fun, but very practical. What's your big recommendation for attendees coming on site to like really prepare and be ready?
Okay, so I worked help desk the last 2 years, right? So I've scarred
yeah.
You have a
from
lot
it.
of good
Yeah.
I
advice.
have a lot
you
of
do.
really good advice.
Yes.
So I've seen so the people that come to help desk are not typically people that are having the best week.
good day?
Right, they're
Yeah.
not having the best day. And the theme that I've noticed is that it's because they come on site and they're caught off guard by everything.
Yeah.
And so, and mainly from a catalog perspective. And so my advice to everybody is to download the mobile app early, re-log into the session catalog or to your account on the web app, whichever one you want to use. I would recommend the mobile app because what happens is when you get on site, you use the mobile app.
Yeah.
We have a crazy high adoption rate for the mobile app on site. And so if you're in there and you're using the mobile app and you're getting comfortable with it, but well ahead of being on site, you'll learn a lot about the experience and how it all will work, and you're not gonna be as caught off guard. And so my advice would be to dive in way early, way before you get on site, and plan your week.
Yeah.
This workshop thing is super important, and the workshop is like the planner in my world, right?
Yeah.
So if you plan and dive into the content early, start building out interest. Like, don't be afraid to throw things on your interest list. Like,
Yeah.
I have hundreds of things on my interest list, and I can't even go to sessions, right? I just think it's like one of the core functionalities that we've built that will help enhance your experience. And from there, you'll have, like, reserve seating will just become easier.
Yeah.
Because reserve seating is the hard part. And so that's the stuff that I've been scarred from the last 2 years, is learning with customers how to do
Yeah.
reserve seating, right?
Yeah.
This is new to us, too.
Yeah.
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 And so we're learning as we go, and reserve seating is, it's not easy.
But it's so important.
It's
and
so
I think
important. And that's this idea of like getting in early is
yes,
why.
getting in early, and just we understand that the reInvent campus is big and
Yes.
there's lots of venues and it can be really overwhelming. And reserve seating is just one more tool we're giving people so that they know, like, I have a seat, this is where I'm going, like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
I want to guarantee people that they get what they want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So that's my advice.
All right.
That's great advice,
What's
Cole.
this? There's a second part of this.
Yes, there's a second part that's more fun.
Okay.
Like, what kind of tip or trick do you have for surviving the week?
Oh, okay. So, and this is also like just because I'm the guy that sits down at help desk and I own the mobile app development. People's cell phones die.
Yeah.
And so like if you have one battery pack, like go buy 3 more and keep them charged at night when you go back to your room. Because what happens is you're out at a conference, you're bouncing between venues, you're on Uber, you're trying to pull shuttle times, you're going through the session catalog, you're on Instagram, whatever, right? You're calling your boss, like things are happening all week, and you're literally, I don't think people realize how disconnected they are
yeah.
from like a desk.
Yeah.
Like you're constantly on your cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what happens is your battery dies, and so I would buy Morphes, like 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bring plenty
That's
of
good
cords.
advice.
That is good advice. What about you, my friend?
Well, it's episode 6, so I feel like I've told a lot of my tips
I
and
know.
tricks. But I personally like to have a good playlist for the week. So, some years I've gone like rock, sort of like power usage. Other years, I got a little like Wilson Phillips hold on in case I need some uplifting. So I would say have a good playlist going. I play it in the morning while I'm getting ready, and that's like my tip or trick. Or also too, when you're walking through the hallway and you really need to get somewhere fast, you put your earbuds in, and then you're like. But really, I'm listening to Wilson Phillips. So that's my tip and trick for the week.
Nice. Well, I know you're going to ask me what mine is, so I'll just go for it. Mine is actually pretty practical this time. Really, when you're considering getting around on site, like really thinking about how long it's going to take you to get places, right? So sometimes it takes longer to walk from one place to another inside a venue than it does to walk from one venue to another. Yeah. Like Vegas is tricky like that, right? Like it can be hard to conceptualize how much time you're gonna need. And so just when you're
there's so many people.
Yes,
right?
and there's so many people. And so when you're on site and like you need to get to another venue, like the shuttles aren't your only option. Like we're providing walking routes and the timing on those. We're also providing, we're partnering with like Uber to get, so you can grab an Uber to get someplace quickly if you're in a hurry. So just kind of remember there are transportation options, and to be really thoughtful about be realistic about the time it's going to take you to get from one place to another. Because getting door to door is not just it. Like you can get door to door in 15 minutes, but you also have walking time on either end of that. So just kind of bear that in mind as you're thinking about going on site, and then especially when you're on site, because we provided options to make sure people get where they need to go.
Yeah. The thing we talk about is it's not really door to door like Venetian to Aria. It's meeting space to meeting space.
Yes, exactly.
Understanding how that works, and we'll talk about that in the transportation section because we have a pretty cool solution for that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And my room always seems to be like at the end of the hallway.
Oh man, far away from the elevator.
Yeah, when you get
and my
back,
bags weigh like 100 pounds. Oh.
You get back at night and you're like, wait, I'm not to my room yet? How did this happen? Yes, that is the beauty of Vegas is everything is huge.
Yes.
So leaving that extra time is actually that's a really good tip this week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I try.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
That was really good.
That was great. And we'll see you back in episode 7, and we will see you back in episode 7.
Thanks.